Hi everyone, welcome to Bang's Lunch and Learn series on marketing. With this series, we hope to bring you some ideas and strategies, as well as showcase insights around different types of marketing practices that we use within our agency. And hopefully by sharing some of our secret sauce, we'd be able to help you achieve speed to visibility, engagement, brand development, and importantly, build that really strong customer experience in useful and inspiring ways. We'll be hosting these Lunch and Learns every third Wednesday of the month, and there's a whole range of topics that we'll be covering throughout the year. And these are loosely based on two different types of sessions. Now, the first one is a tips and tricks session, and today's is going to be one of those. And these will provide you with ideas and best practice guidance that will help deliver marketing throughput. And the second is going to be a more general session, which we're going to make them a little bit more fun and thought-provoking too. Now, today's topic is on Digital Marketing Plus, with the focus on building out a strong foundational marketing strategy and learning how to implement it. Well, the aim is to create strong ROI for your digital campaigns. Now, with these sessions, no previous marketing experience is needed for you to attend. If your role needs you to take on some marketing activities, or if you just want to find a better way to get your brand out to market, then these sessions will help you shape your thinking more cohesively. Just a bit of housekeeping to kick us off. Now, if you have any questions, don't hold them back to the end. Just use the chat box function and ask those questions as they pop up. One of the Bang team members will be able to pick these up and answer them along the way. Note that these webinars are not going to be available on demand later, so please do try to stay till the very end. For the tips and tricks sessions, everyone who attends will be receiving a short infographic with the key takeaways that are touched on during the webinar. And lastly, we've kept these webinars pretty short at half an hour so that you can take a break from your hectic day when you grab a bite to eat, to listen and watch and hopefully learn something too. Now, we're just going to start with a quick snapshot of our agency. We've been around for 21 years and predominantly working within the B2B environment and largely in the ICT sector. So we've got a pretty good understanding of the channel, working with many vendors and their partner ecosystem too. We offer end-to-end solutions, so that's foundational work right through to go-to-market. And we've got a very strong in-house team of experts covering in different marketing fields across strategy, brand development, digital planning, content creation, PR, design, UX, and dev too. And data and strategy informs everything that we do. We strive for a strong CX and brand experience as an outcome. Quick note about me, I've been in publishing for 20 odd years or so. I've been in both camps, starting out as a journo and then moving over to the dark side when I joined sales, although now I've really come to love the commercial and strategic sides of the business. I've worked mostly in media that serves the ICT industry as well. So channel, consumer, enterprise, I've been across all of these sectors. And having run a content practice across APAC for a number of years before joining Bang, I'm also enjoying putting my previous experience into good use. So, to start, currently there's a plethora of ways to take your brand out to market, and everything is available on self-serve online platforms. And this makes most people want to dive right in and buy some Google ads or, build some brand presence on LinkedIn. But I think that as a good marketer, it's important to hit the pause button and think about a few things before you begin. Do you have a strategy? Is it a good one? What does it entail? Is it enough just to have a strategy? Because implementation is really the key to unlocking that strategy. Now, have you also taken into consideration of what the ROIs are going to be? Does it actually match what your sales guys are doing? Does it tie in or help drive your business objectives? Whilst marketing helps build momentum for your business, it's often the first thing that gets cut when the budget belt tightens. So it's actually essential to map out your marketing ROIs with that of your business so that you're going to be moving as this cohesive organism. Now, if outcomes that are met by your marketing objectives answer to some of the challenges that your business may be facing, then a lot of growth can actually be led through marketing efforts. In terms of planning, do you have more than one marketing objective for a single campaign? If so, then you really need to pare it back, because it's never one size fits all. Okay, it's a common and easy mistake to make. And that can be because of budget limitations or simply wanting to take a huge bite all in the one go. But it's important to keep to one primary objective in your sites and then cascade the others as desired outcomes underneath. So for example, if your objective is to raise brand awareness and understand that this is also going to help increase your customer value, especially if directed through a tactic that's going to deliver thought leadership positioning. And whilst marketing can be that very complex beast, it's important to separate strategy from the tactical. And in both of those instances, make them succinct so that you can measure whether you've been able to achieve them or not. And know that measurement and learning from previous campaigns, and I'm talking about optimizing and adjusting along the way, is key to improving performance. Now, keeping things simple does not mean that you can only do the one thing, like just buy Google ads or just buy LinkedIn ads. It's like what Jim Collins says, avoid the tyranny of the or and liberate yourself with the genius of the and. And there are other considerations too, looking at contextual environments and seeing where your competitors are advertising. And last but not least, think outside the digital landscape. In fact, this may be the way to, really create standout in the market and gives you a space to deliver a memorable and engaging experience. Of course, in the end, you'd want to be able to track ROI. So it's important that we think of ways to integrate this back into the digital platform that allows us to get those quantifiable results for reporting. And today we're going to be focusing on just 3 key things, and let's deep dive into these a little bit more. There's absolutely no need to sacrifice having a strategy for a quick or easy way out, because chances are you're going to get yourself into a bind further down the road when you're going to find that all your campaigns are done ad hoc and reactively, and perhaps even without too much thought or objective building but put behind them. And these tactics will not prove to be successful in the long run. Speed to marketing is not the same as instantaneous marketing. That mindset of the one-click generation of end customers shouldn't also apply to marketers. And this mindset definitely does not apply to end customers making IT purchasing decisions. Now, Foundry's 2021 research on role and influence of the IT decision makers within the APAC region shows that the number of people involved in an IT purchase can vary between 16 to 25, depending on solution scope and scale, of course. But, that's a huge number of people, no matter how you look at it. And this IT buying collective is a 50-50 mix of those people that either hold IT functions within the company, and they could be across C-levels, operational, or they could be ITDMs. And the second group are actually very influential. They're the group of LOB managers, line of business managers. So let's look at 4 easy steps that you should consider when you need to generate engagement from this IT buying collective. Now, really understanding your ideal customer profile can help achieve a number of things. It really allows you to reverse engineer your go-to-market efforts by using the profile to inform the way in which you articulate your message to market. And one of Bang's philosophy is that, whilst we work in the B2B sector, We're actually in the B to H business, business to human. And this means that we need to introduce the human into everything that we do. Ultimately, your message has to resonate with the person who's sitting on the other side of the screen for them to engage with your brand. And this human factor must be in the forefront of our minds and where our strategy should start. Now, to know your ICP is to lay the foundation for your strategy. And it will then inform everything that you build, from your ads, your higher value assets, to how you articulate your differentiators, to building authority. And this is done by looking at both internal and external elements simultaneously. Now, most of you would already know what a brand house is. It's an internal articulation of a set of values that answers the questions of the who, what, and how of your brand. And as a marketer, your understanding of your business is strong. However, a brand house is used to facilitate communication internally. That means aligning all key stakeholders, in fact, all stakeholders from CEO to admin support. But to build a successful marketing strategy, you've actually got to turn the internal view into a set of external statements that will resonate with the market. And this external view is what can be called a core value proposition. And what this does is that it breaks down the internal message to create a set of high impact statements, addressing the current and future values of your business and solutions that are being offered. The top floor encapsulates your USP to market, and in turn, this is underpinned by key considerations. And this is where the three pillars come in to form the foundation that supports the CVP, the core value proposition house. And firstly, to your left-hand side is your customer profile. And understanding whether they are a decision maker or an influencer is going to be very important. Now, you've got to remember it takes 16 to 25 people to make an IT purchase. And your tone of voice should differ when addressing these personas. I'll go into a little bit more detail about personas in the next slide as well. So ask yourself, is their current mindset aligned to your desired mindset? If not, how can you shift them? And all these points will tie in directly with opportunities, budget, as well as volume. So on the far right-hand side, you're going to be addressing your services and description and performance. Now, by tying your addressable market back into the real world, understand market demand actually differs in different regions. So I know that, a lot of this information could already be provided to you by Global, but understand that US, which is usually where the headquarters are, or even the APAC market is going to be very different from the Australian market. And that again is different from New Zealand. So for example, think about how the US classifies the size of an enterprise company. That's very, very different from how APAC classifies it to Australia as well as New Zealand. We all, have it slightly differently. So I guess, for me, it's very much about understanding what the local demands are for your service and figure out who the key players are in this marketplace. Are you losing market share to them? Why are you losing market share to them if you are? This will give you that market intelligence that's very much needed to inform your marketing strategy. And that comes to the middle here. Articulating your differentiators in the market and how to create value for your customers that they can see as key benefits. And this all speaks to your level of expertise in the market as well. ICPs and personas are essentially, very much linked, and your ICP will usually have a number of personas that your marketing team would need to address and that your sales team would also need to speak to. And a company could have up to 5 different types of personas that you would need to tackle as a marketer. So take your time to define what they are. Know that these personas underpin all decision making. And by building out your CVP house, strategic foundations are actually laid for developing high-value content pieces. It also, tease out for your sales team who is going to be a good fit. And by understanding the customer's real-world challenges, and these are their pain points, you can also influence them on how they consume content. Again, these personas and even your ICP will likely change across time as your business matures or if you move across geos. So it's very important to revisit this exercise after 12 to 18 months for it to be current. So I'm going to be wrapping up on strategy a little bit here now. If you want to do things quickly and very fast, most people would want to go it alone. I know that I do. However, if you take the time to include your team, to put some thought behind the strategy, and I'm talking about, just a simple strategy without all the bells and whistles, with your team, you will go far. Because importantly, within the strategy itself, you've got to demonstrate how to implement that strategy. And your team are going to be the ones who are going to be actioning that. A cohesive strategy means that the end effort, that is that implementation effort of that strategy, should be effortless and easy. Now, even with all best laid plans, execution is in fact the most important route to success because you can only see the outputs of your plan. So even if you've got a so-so strategy, but it's executed to the T, you'll find that you're going to be in a better situation than having a great strategy that's too complex to execute. Because without implementation, time, effectiveness, measurement against your ROI, these will all fall to the wayside. So let's take time to talk about execution now. Really understanding your ideal customer profile helps you achieve a number of things. First of all, it really paves the way to help you reverse engineer your go-to-market efforts. It informs the way in which you can actually articulate your message to market. And in this way, it helps to demystify your solution by dropping away technical jargons and speaking instead to business values. And importantly, it also allows you to produce content that will actually address the pain points of your customers while speaking to your key value differentiators. It allows marketers to actually create a set of very powerful and compelling story to market as well. And content can be used in so many different ways. Working with a deep understanding of your ICP to produce content that fits key personas and, in doing so, address their pain points, you're actually connecting in that very authentic business to human way. And these content pieces become high value assets. They do more than just educate or inform an audience. It's important to always address your value to your audiences because in order to justify their spend, they need to fulfill their needs and generate better outcome for their businesses. As such, you may actually need a number of differentiated assets to do the job properly. Let's go through a recent client case study to sort of illustrate this point. So DNX Solution is actually an advanced AWS partner. They came to Bang with an objective of increasing awareness and build authority in the marketplace and to generate some MQLs along the way as well. Our solution is to really work on getting a deep understanding of the ICP. And we produce 2 high-value assets off the back of that ties back to the critical pain points for their customers. We then ran this through a single channel. In this instance, it was through LinkedIn. And we found that one asset, the top learnings from 50 startups, was outperforming the other asset. And by optimizing the activity throughout the campaign, we were actually able to drive a strong conversion rate of 40% and lower the MQL to only $46 cost per lead. And Alex, who's the head of growth marketing, really liked the way in which we were able to reverse engineer the process by having a deep understanding of the ICP first. And the assets produced really resonated well with this audience and drove conversions and conversations for the sales team from the get-go. We all know that the beauty of the digital environment is that it is trackable and quantifiable. It's important to keep tabs on performance and optimize as you go along. And cumulative learnings will also inform what your next campaign should look like, rather than tackling each campaign in isolation. Data that is measurable is only good when it is clean data. And data should be at the heart of not only a digital campaign, but your business too. And having a database that you can regularly email to, perhaps as an internal nurture stream, whether you're using HubSpot, Marketo, or Salesforce, know that you need to regularly inspect the hygiene of that data. There are apps that you can use that are very cost effective to clean a list, and most of the time, you'll also stop platforms like MailChimp locking down your send if your data hasn't been touched for a while and it's full of the wrong addresses, especially after the Great Resignation over the last 12 months. Now, whilst I won't go through intent data and market intelligence in this session, there's going to be another session later on this year that will actually focus specifically on this, exploring engagement data and looking at some of the finer points around usage of that data to drive digital marketing efforts. Producing a good digital experience doesn't actually mean having a good looking website or even having one that has a lot of information on it. In fact, sites that have many sub-layers tend to lead customers down rabbit holes that they may not be able to resurface out of. A good global nav bar that sits on your homepage should be one that is scaled back rather than broad. Think about it. Isn't it always a much better experience when you go into a shop and the clothes are curated beautifully for you, by color and by type, rather than having piles of clothes all jumbled together on the rack or on tables that you have to sort through yourself. And first impressions does matter when it comes to a digital presence. And the impression here is based on a strong customer journey. Having set foundation means that you have provided a good, strong structure to build your go-to-market on. There is a science in doing things right and to get the best traction for your campaign. And this guiding layer needs now to correlate with your website and its functionalities to drive a strong customer experience, so that your CX, customer experience, is directly related to your UX, your user experience and design. And it's our practice, Bang's practice, to recommend doing at least a light digital audit to check the health of your site before we run a digital campaign. And looking under the hood means that you're able to understand and therefore address some of the problems that you may see in a traffic report, especially if your web traffic is high, but your conversion is low. It's a very common thing that a company's website grows with the business, but this might mean that there are going to be a lot of plugins that have been added to the website throughout the years. And sometimes when this happens, the functionalities of those add-ons, especially those that are not currently used by the company, will continue to sit in the background of your site and slowing it down. Most companies would also use more than one plugin, so you can imagine over time, these unminified JavaScripts and CSS files would really impact on your load times and resulting in poor customer experience. There are also other SEO and SEM considerations as well, broken links or missing SEO meta descriptions and sitemaps not linked to robot text files. And all this could lead to ranking as well as security concerns. Now, digital audits can be performed, very quickly, But once recommendations are made, you'd need to take the time to figure out how to fix these problems. And sometimes it's quicker and more cost effective to rebuild a site, especially if the current site doesn't have too many pages to migrate over, rather than to try and locate all these problems before you can proceed to fix them. Now, if you're part of a global site which doesn't allow local or regional entities to tweak it, in those instances, it'd be really important to build a dedicated landing page that you can direct traffic to when running those digital campaigns. Whilst digital visibility is a must for most companies, and in fact, a recent study by Australian Small Business and Family Enterprise Ombudsman noted that out of the 2.4 million small businesses in Australia, those that were able to digitize their business in the last 18 months during the pandemic actually survived. They spent about 6% of their revenue improving IT performance. And another report that came out this year, and this is a joint report by Accenture and Xero, was also able to highlight clear links between small business digitization and improved performance throughout the pandemic, with Australian small businesses in the top quartile of ITC spend. But, as we get to back to a kind of normalcy, and thank goodness too, people are wanting to have a much more tactile or impressionable method of communication. And there's a general sense of screen fatigue too. You'd have heard of the recent news that short-sightedness amongst Australian children have doubled following the pandemic. And as adult screen times across the world has actually increased by 60 to 80%. So it's no wonder that a lot of customers and businesses are looking to other avenues like face-to-face events as an alternative. We need to start thinking beyond the digital environment. But how do we ensure that we're going to still be able to track and measure ROIs? And for me, this is where the genius of the and comes into play. To generate cut-through and to get to the heart of good customer experience and be able to track progress. Now, the DM pack, the direct mail pack, is proving to be a winner in generating retention and trackable engagement. Here's an example of a recent DM pack that we've done. Conceptually led DM packs are very different from just sending out a gift voucher or a bottle of wine or hamper to your clients or partners. The idea here is to touch not only the human side. The bibelot, of course, aims to generate a very emotive response and connection, to surprise and delight, to leave a lingering impression. But it also needs to connect deeply with your brand message to market. And lastly, the DM pack's ability to tie in digitally with a landing page environment allows you to track interest and, importantly, provide a pipeline to your internal sales team or to feed back into your nurture stream. Thus, DM pack is a call to action item that generates genuine, trackable engagement that leads to conversion. So I'm going to be wrapping up today's session now, and I hope that you've enjoyed the webinar. And please do check back next month, third Wednesday of the month, for the session on how to come up with great brand identities, which will be hosted by our creative director, Dylan Coe. In the meantime, I want to say thanks for all your questions during the webinar, and I hope that our team has been able to answer them for you. Now, if you do have further inquiries or would like more information, please feel free just to reach out to myself or to the Bang team. So thank you very much for your time. Enjoy your day and have a great rest of the week.